Welcome guys. So a question I got asked the other day: what's the best tide to fish, a spring tide or a neap tide? Now, it's a tricky question because personally it all depends on the venue. A lot of anglers would prefer bigger tides, a lot of anglers prefer smaller tides. Me personally, like Tesla, I prefer a better tide than a smaller tide. Bristol Channel, totally different. I mean, if you're at the minehead end, I prefer a bigger tide. If you're at the top end, you definitely don't want a bigger tide because it can be too much. You're better off with like the building neeps. But personally, it's all on the venue, and every tide will fish differently. How do you gain the knowledge to know if a venue fishes better on a small tide, a neap tide, or a medium tide, or a spring tide? Does it fish better on a building tide? Does it fish better as it backs off? As the tide starts to drop away from the springs? Lots of questions, and the only real answer to that question is you've got to put the hours in to find out. I mean, every venue will fish differently, and I know a lot of venues that I fish around South Devon area and Devon area, North Devon, Bristol Channel, and all over the place really, all fish differently. And I'll look for certain things if I'm fishing down in South Devon, as we talked about recently. As you can see today, the sea's just turning around from low water at the moment, and as you can see at the back there, the tide's starting to build up. So basically, out around 150 yards, I'd say probably a bit more than that really, 250 yards. It starts off a reef, and the reef runs probably the length of this stretch of coastline, and it sees a lot of the fish come up over that onto the cleaner ground to hopefully pick up our bait. Now, over the years, you'll see ray, you'll see bass, you'll see congers, you'll see bullets, you'll see lots of different species, dogfish, strap eels. It's no doubt it'll probably throw up triggerfish, no doubt it'll throw up bream, you know what I mean? It probably fishes up a lot of different species, plaice and stuff like that, which anglers don't specifically go and target. Me personally, we're about the rays. It's about the rays here today. So what I find is, one of the main things I look for is water coloration of the water. Now, if I come down here today and it was totally clear, I wouldn't even be staying there. I would go again. Okay. If I come down here and it was complete flat seas with no colour in the water, I wouldn't stay here. But if I come down here with a bit of a swell on and the sea was cloudy, I'm in without a chance. And I found recently that I'm in without a chance. So at the moment, the coloration of the water is very, very dirty. And it's due to, on Sunday morning, we had southwesterly winds of 40 odd mile an hour. So it sort of turned the sea up. Now, this won't stay like this for very long. If you had a long period of big tide, when people say southwesterly, everybody's going to think, I need a southwesterly, Not always. You need a certain, depending where you are positioned around the UK, every area will have their own sort of direct wind, what will turn the sea up. If you look at like the skerries off of beach sounds and stuff like that, an easterly blowing inshore will stir the sea up completely. You know what I mean? On a southwesterly, it's sort of like the start point area of the bay and stuff like that. It clears the sea off, so it flattens the sea off completely. Where other areas obviously change. So depending where you are is the answer to that question. The only way you'll know from that is by maybe going into the tackle shop and having a chat with the lads and say what's the best sort of tide to make obviously dirty water. That's what I find personally. You look at the Bristol Channel, for example, and how prolific the Bristol Channel is for fishing. I think it goes down to a lot to do with the murkiness of the water and obviously the mud banks and the height of the tide. I mean, it really is a dirty place to fish. I mean, look at like the European Open where they have that East Yorkshire coastline. You look along there, it's completely dirty water. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. And it seems to hold the fish. I mean, I went up there the other year, and for some reason, something that had happened. and they had no winds in it. The sea had just turned completely like the Pacific. It was gin clear, and it turned the fishing completely off. And I remember at the time, a couple of the local lads that we went up with, they said to me, Andy, he said, when we ate it like this, he said, you'll always like the colour in the water. So coloration does help you, and I think it helps sea fishermen really, because obviously a lot of fish go off the scent, and if you put a bait there, 9 times out of 10 they can see the bait, they're not even, the visual of the trace line of the hooks and everything else isn't really there, and they're banging it, where that's what I like down at Devon, anywhere like I'm fishing for rays. So yeah, the answer to the question, guys, is this: put the homework in. If you want to find out, put some homework in on your venues and stuff. If you want to find out when you where your sea obviously gets messed up and stuff, or depending on what side of the coastlines that you're on, 9 times out of 10 you can gain the knowledge just by going into the tackle shop. 9 times out of 10 most tackle shops will help you. I mean, there's a lot of like forums and local places and stuff like that where local anglers also get together and talk and stuff. Always worth answering the question. But for us, depending what part of the coastline you're on, it's exactly the same. It all depends on that wind. I mean, because we're down in Devon, really anything southwest, southerly going through to northeasterly will turn the sea up slightly, and northerly on a lot of the marks won't. Northwesterly sort of like blows off the backs normally, and yeah, obviously westerly is exactly the same. But yeah, it all depends where you are on the map and where you're fishing to. I mean, where we're at the moment, you wouldn't want a particularly massive easterly in your face. You know what I mean? If you had a big easterly here, we would struggle to fish where we are. But yeah, hopefully we can see a few fish on the day. But at the end of the day, guys, it's just one of them really. I mean, I can't answer that question and say, look, big tides are better than small tides, because a lot of venues is depending where I'm going. I always like a bit of a tide, unless I'm fishing a lot of the different venues, like say upper reaches of Bristol Channel. I wouldn't want to go up there on a spring tide. I mean, looking like a medium building tide would be more than enough for me. And yeah, just because of the pull and the tide really. I mean, especially you use 8-ounce leads, you would struggle to hold sometimes. But guys, hope you enjoyed that on tides, and we'll see you in another adventure. Tight lines.